Hello and welcome to TVB News. The mainland's trade figures last month came in lower than expected, with a double-digit drop in export-import figures. Exports also recorded the biggest decline in 3 years. An academic said mainland trade has likely been constrained by weakening exchange rates of the Chinese yuan and the uncertain geopolitical situation. Jackie Lin reports.
Hamstrung by a lackluster global economy, mainland trade has fared worse than expected. Measured in U.S. dollars, China saw a 14.5% year-on-year drop in exports in July, the steepest decline since February 2020. Imports plunged 12%, also the worst in 6 months. In yuan terms, last month's exports dipped 9% year-on-year and imports 7%. Both recorded steeper declines than the month before. Mainland scholar in international commerce and finance Chen Jidong from the University of International Business and Economics in Beijing said, when the Chinese yuan has become weaker and Chinese goods are cheaper, this is supposed to help buoy exports. However, Chen said the current geopolitical situation has prompted people to refrain from spending much, but to save more money instead. Daniel Tai here is among the businessmen affected. His watch and clock factory in Guangzhou exports timepieces to Europe. He said the number of orders received has declined from 100 to around 50 to 70 per month, and he's not optimistic about his future trade prospects. And for Hong Kong, the Hong Kong Chinese Importers and Exporters Association Vice President Hui Kwan Kei said the SAR has been the entrepot for mainland goods to be exported overseas. So, sluggish international demand is poised to slow down exports from Hong Kong too in the second half of the year. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Concrete chunks fell down from a Mongkok building this morning, penetrating the roof of a KMB double-decker on the street below. No one was injured. It's the second incident of its kind in just over a week involving the same building on Nathan Road. The police arrested a 47-year-old manager of a renovation project. Timothy Lee tells us more.
A glaring hole on the roof of a KMB double-decker. The vehicle, just another victim of the city's problem with falling concrete. The debris was spread across the top floor of the bus, much of it lying on top of the seats. The largest piece measured 10 by 10 inches. The number 30X bus was traveling from Whampoa to Tsuen Wan this morning. At around 9 a.m., it was hit by concrete chunks when it arrived at the Shantung Street bus stop on Nathan Road, outside Sun Hing Building. Around 20 passengers had to be evacuated. Just more than a week ago, on July 29th, debris also fell dangerously close to a bus stop from the same building. Footage captured by local construction workers shows the concrete having penetrated some canvas put up outside the building. Some locals spoke about their concerns about the concrete hazard. This shopkeeper said her store remains safe under a shed, but pedestrians could be in danger of being injured in the area. While this man believes the building is simply too old. Police have taken in a 47-year-old manager of repair work on the external wall of the building for further investigation. Sun Hing Building was built almost 60 years ago. The Urban Renewal Authority earlier pointed out the structure had applied for a renewal project back in October of 2018. But because of the pandemic, work only began in March this year. Today, the buildings department said the fallen chunks are similar to the plaster that was removed earlier by contractors. Lawmaker Edward Leung noted that the government is aware of around 4,800 structures in critical condition in the city, but said authorities should focus on buildings that are in need of urgent repair. Leung suggested that residents and the government work together to proactively seek out such structural dangers to prevent potential accidents. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
China's foreign ministry today repeated its call for the Philippines to tow away a grounded World War II warship used as a base on a disputed shoal. This after Manila told Beijing it would not abandon the area. China's foreign ministry said in a statement that it had repeatedly communicated its request to the Philippines on the Ren Ai-jiao issue through diplomatic channels. It added that its goodwill had been ignored. The Chinese Coast Guard released a video on Tuesday showing its ship spraying a Philippine vessel with a water cannon on August 5th in what it described as a warning, adding that it had exercised rational restraint at all times. The Philippine government summoned China's ambassador on Monday and presented a strongly worded diplomatic protest over the Chinese Coast Guard's use of water cannons. Russia twice attacked a Ukrainian city in the eastern Donetsk region on Monday night, killing at least 7 people and injuring more than 60 others. 2 Russian missiles slammed into a city center in an area partially occupied by Russia, local authorities said. Meanwhile, Ukraine says it has arrested a woman on possible espionage charges. As Nazvi Karim reports, the woman was also allegedly part of a plot to assassinate President Volodymyr Zelensky.
A social media post on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's July visit to the Mykolaiv region. A handwritten note supposedly listing strategic locations in Ukraine. Both linked to this woman, arrested on Monday by Ukraine's security service known as SBU, allegedly for gathering information on Zelensky. Media reports suggest it was part of a plot to assassinate the president, as Russia launched a dual missile strike on the eastern Donetsk city of Pokrovsk. Ukraine officials say 2 apartment buildings were damaged, with at least 7 dead and more than 60 injured. 19 policemen, 5 rescuers and a child were reportedly among the injured, with the second missile arriving at the city center 40 minutes after the first. Russian President Vladimir Putin, meanwhile, said he wants more aerial weapons. He was shown on state television speaking to Sergei Chemezov, head of state-owned defense firm Rostec, telling him to increase the production of attack drones. It was a day after delegates from more than 40 countries, minus Russia, ended a meeting in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. They discussed Zelensky's 10 principles for potential peace. The United States described the talks as productive, especially given the presence in Jeddah of China's Special Envoy for Eurasian Affairs, Li Hui.
We did believe it was productive that China attended. We have long said that it would be productive for China to play a role in ending the war in Ukraine if it was willing to play a role that respected Ukraine's territorial integrity and Ukraine's sovereignty.
China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi later said Beijing remains neutral, while Russia says it would never give up the 4 regions it annexed last year, nor the Crimean Peninsula taken in 2014. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
Still ahead, asylum seekers in the UK start moving onto a residential barge. And process of burying the dead whale in Sai Kung gets underway. Welcome back. In the UK, asylum seekers have started to move onto a residential barge moored in southern England. This as the British government tries to cut the cost of sheltering people seeking protection in the country, as currently many are put up in hotels, costing the government millions of pounds a day. Tracy Furness has more.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has made cracking down on illegal migration a major priority ahead of a general election next year, showing he is tougher on the issue than the opposition Labour Party, which is enjoying a strong lead in the opinion polls. Seeking to deter illegal migrants from arriving in Britain, the government is moving migrants from expensive hotels onto disused military sites and barges like this one, the 3-storey Bibby Stockholm in Portland, which can house around 500 people in more than 200 bedrooms. The first group of migrants arrived on the barge midday Monday, and more expected later in the day. The government is housing more than 51,000 asylum seekers in hotels across Britain, costing more than £6 million a day.
What it sends is a forceful message that there will be proper accommodation, but not luxurious. Luxurious hotel accommodation has been part of the pull, I'm afraid. There have been promises made abroad by the organised criminal gangs and organisations which are trying to get people into the country unlawfully, and they say you'll be staying in a very nice hotel in the middle of a town in England. That needs to stop. and the barge is just one of a wide range of other measures.
The government is completely failing in this area. They have 173,000 people now who are in the backlog in our asylum system. That's the reason that they've ended up having to use hotels and bases and now this barge. They are there because of their chronic failure.
Most of the asylum seekers crossed the Channel from France in small dinghies in their final leg of their journey to the UK. Last year, more than 45,000 migrants landed on England's southern coasts, up 500% in the last 2 years. The government said the Bibby Stockholm will only house single men and will provide basic and functional accommodation, along with healthcare, catering facilities and on-board security. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
The West African Economic Bloc, ECOWAS, will hold a Thursday summit to discuss its standoff with the Niger junta, which seized power on July 26th. So far, coup leaders have resisted external pressure to reinstate the ousted president, Mohamed Bazoum. Matthew Bray reports.
It has emerged that U.S. Deputy Secretary of State Victoria Nuland was in Niger Monday talking with coup leaders. Niamey has been a counter-terrorism partner of the United States until the takeover. Now, with the junta unwilling to back down, Nuland stressed that aid, most of it military, will probably be cut off. Nuland did not meet the coup's leader and was not allowed to meet detained President Mohamed Bazoum.
We are pausing assistance to the government for the time being. That assistance will affect development aid to the government, security aid to the government. It's a significant amount.
The police busted a crime syndicate suspected of laundering over $100 million. 7 people have been arrested so far, including women of Philippine and Thai nationalities. Authorities began investigating the suspected crime organization in October last year. Police officers arrested 2 local men, 3 Thai women, and 2 Filipino women, aged between 33 and 45. These suspects claim to be domestic helpers, as well as transport and sanitation workers. The group was accused of using over 40 local bank accounts to launder over $100 million. It is believed to have earned over $4 million from online and phone scams. Those convicted of money laundering are liable to a maximum penalty of 14 years in prison and a fine of $5 million. Workers today began the process of burying the whale that was found dead off Shelter Island in Sai Kung. A hole was being dug near the High Island Reservoir West Dam. Staff from the Agriculture, Fisheries and Conservation Department and Ocean Park arrived at the scene this morning. The carcass of the Brutus whale could be seen clearly. A crane was deployed to carry the massive weight. The AFCD said appropriate action will be taken to ensure the burial process falls in line with hygiene and disinfection standards. After a period of natural decay, the remains of the whale will be transferred to Ocean Park for research. And the 5-day food expo organized by the Hong Kong Trade Development Council will be launched next week at the Convention and Exhibition Center in Wan Chai. Visitors will be allowed to taste food on the spot, the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic. Mimo Singai reports.
Starting a week on Thursday, the annual HKTDC Food Expo returns to Wan Chai for 5 days, alongside 2 other public exhibitions, the Beauty and Wellness Expo and Home Delights Expo. Unlike the previous expo, which was affected by the pandemic, individuals can this year taste local and international delicacies from nearly 100 exhibitors at the event. The HKTDC said it expects more local and tourists to turn up at the public exhibitions.
In our estimates, there will be more people from last year coming. Last year, I think we have around 430,000 audience coming in for the visitors, for public shows. And this year, with fingers crossed, I hope there will be around more than last year, hopefully 10%.
John also believes the consumption voucher scheme will help boost visitors' spending power.
I understand that there is some people who have not yet actualized their second phase yet. So the next date would be 16th of August. Hopefully, with this added incentives, more people will be spending more at the Food Expo.
Visitors can shop for a wide range of products at the HKTDC exhibitions. To raise awareness of environmental issues, the HKTDC said some exhibitors will provide extra offerings to individuals who bring their own utensils to the Food Expo. Mimosa 9, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.